Hey, y'all need a break. Listen to these stories from r/entitled people. I was verbally assaulted at a gas station for being old. I'm a retired, mid-60s, white female who needed gas last Monday before I ran my errands. I stopped at a station near my house that doesn't have a large lot, so parking and turning are cramped. I pulled up to a pump after circling the station twice looking for an opening. Once I got out of the car, I heard someone honking behind me and see a young man, also white, about 35 in a big white truck, parked vertically behind me near the curb. When I got to the pump, he yelled at me, "Didn't you see I was in line for that pump?" I said no and continued to try and put my card in the reader because he had startled me. He called me a witch and told me he was in line. I repeated I didn't realize he was in line, and that's when the crap hit the fan. His next words were screaming, "You're too effing old to be out in public. You should be at home waiting to die, you effing a-hole." The next 10 to 15 minutes he never shut up about how old I was and what a effing a-hole I was. Over and over again and again. He did pull his truck away from the curb and get behind me in line. At this point he told he in a slightly lower tone than a scream that I had better hurry the F up. I didn't respond. He repeated it. I said I was retired. I didn't have to hurry up. He said it again. At this point, I was done with him and I told him, "Oh, I'm so old, my back is bad, and my hip and shoulders. It'll take me 30 to 35 minutes to finish pumping the little bit of gas I need. You had better start looking for another pump because you will never get this one." Well, he did look for another pump, but he backed into the same pump as me, on other side, and continued to scream and curse me out for another 5 minutes. When he screamed ugly something about my mom, I told him his mother had certainly raised a complete effing a-hole. At this point he told me to suck a D. I laughed at him and said not bloody likely. A few points I would like to make. I really didn't see him waiting for the pump. I thought he was parked to the side waiting on someone to come out of the store. If he had not immediately started screaming and cursing at me, I might have moved. While I wasn't scared, and was kind of amused at his childish hissy fit, I tried not to respond to his accusations. I don't know why he thought I had no business in public because I'm older. Maybe he hates his grandmas. I was not afraid because there were at least 20 people at the station and we were the center of attention. He was loud AF. I'm also Irish and Scottish, so it's sorta like picking a fight with a honey badger. You might win, but I'm gonna do some damage. I was playing with him and seeing just how worked up I could get him. He's never gonna get to retire. His blood pressure and anger issues are going to take him out before he's 50. After I finished pumping, I slowly got into my car, buckled my seatbelt, turned up my radio and slowly drove off with him screaming obscenities at me the whole time. I never looked back at him. This is my first post on Reddit, so be kind to me please. I'm a widow and have been for 11 years. I have always fought my own battles, and as my dad used to say about me, I take a little bit of crap from my dad, a lot of crap from my hubby, and nothing off of anybody else. That's how he raised me. I'm allergic to nuts. I'm dying. Miss, that's a lemon pip. So this actually happened to my coworker, but I was there and she gave me permission to post the story, and I'm gonna do it from her perspective so it's not as confusing. So it was a Saturday, the day before Halloween in fact, so we all knew it was gonna be a long shift and we would probably get a couple of crazies. But boy oh boy, we did not expect this level of crazy. To set the scene, our Italian restaurant is fairly small, a very small section in the front and a slightly larger section in the back where the bar and kitchen also are. Now this couple, a male and female, walked into the restaurant. They didn't book, but that was okay, we had enough space for a few walk-ins. I greeted them and sat them down at a table in the front and asked whether they had any allergies or intolerances. They didn't, as we always do when someone comes and eats here, and then I got their drink orders, but nothing else, as they were still deciding what to eat. At this point everything was pretty normal. While the drinks were being made, literally like 5 seconds after the order was put through, I go over to another table to make sure everything is alright with them, and this woman is clicking her fingers and shouting me over, "Excuse me. Could you come here please?" Click click click. I finish up with the customer and go over to the couple. "Yes, are you all ready to order?" She goes and prattles off her order, and then so does her partner. I put their order through and luckily nothing bad happened while they waited for their meals. Their food is ready and I bring over their starters, and as soon as the plates touch the table I start getting asked for various things for their meal, which I was just about to offer, and it was fine. It was just the way they said it, and I was starting to stress out a little since I was running food, drink, and making sure the other tables were happy. We still don't know how it happened, but amidst all the chaos, this couple's mains comes out while they're still halfway through their starters. Another server brought the food out. This Karen calls me over. I'm not impressed with this service. I say, "I'm sorry about this mix-up. If you like I can take the mains back and get them redone for you so you don't have to rush and it doesn't get cold." She just gruffly says, "No," and waves me away. I take a glance at her partner and he's happily enjoying his main meal already. After a couple of minutes I get called back again. This pastry you have cooked is so dry. Because I'm apparently a chef now. Once again I say, I'm really sorry about that. If you like I can have the kitchen redo it or I can get them to put more sauce on it so it's not so dry. I put my hand out in a gesture to take the bowl away but she literally cradles the damn bowl. No. Just bring me some garlic butter. So I do. A few minutes later I'm with another table near the couple and she shouts for me, clicking and all, and seems to be in an absolute rage. Look what I found in my food. Since I'm with another table I just quickly say, one moment please, and ask the table I'm with if it's okay if I go see to them and I'll be right back. They agree. I walk over to the Karen, look at this. It's a nut. I'm allergic to nuts. I'm a little taken aback. Oh right, well it doesn't look like a nut, it looks like the pip of a lemon, but I'll go check if the dish has nuts in it. I know for a fact the dish doesn't have nuts in it, and there's a squeezed lemon on her plate. But before I leave her, she starts gulping down her water and is literally pretending to go into anaphylactic shock, holding her throat all way, screaming at me, "You've ruined my night, you've ruined my food. It's all bland and tasteless and it's got nuts and I'm allergic to nuts." She then proceeds to shove her plate at me. I take her food away and go to my manager and explain what's been happening. We take her main meal off the bill because we'd rather her just leave right now and not cause any more arguments, but just so we can cover our arses. The manager goes over to her and explains that her meal was taken off, but that since I asked her if she had any allergies before they sat down, then it's out of our hands. Especially because we asked and you withheld that information. But I didn't know I was allergic to nuts until I had one. The manager wasn't having it, so just calmly and point blank said, "It was a lemon pip. You have ruined my wedding night. You've ruined my anniversary. I am so disappointed and I am never coming back here." Then they both walk out of the restaurant. But a few minutes later, the husband comes in and embarrassingly asks if he left his cardigan here. He didn't. But then says, "I'm sorry about tonight. You've been wonderful, my wife is just a little," and gestures the crazy symbol to his head. And just before he completely walks out the door to his angry, impatient wife, he smiles, "Thanks for trying to make a crap evening pleasant. You've been great." And he leaves. Best part is all the tables who saw what happened took the piss out of the Karen, with one table saying, "I need my dinner discounted because I'm allergic to dickheads." We all had a good laugh. Edit. Holy crap, an award and 1K upvotes. This blew up more than I could have ever imagined. Thank you all so much. Bit off more than he could chew. Hi. I actually joined Reddit because of some family stories, but I haven't worked up the nerve to post the hurtful stuff yet. I thought I'd post a funny one and see how it goes. I was not there, but this was the story as told. My uncle, technically mom's uncle, but we all call him that, is a veteran. He lost a leg in the Marines and had to get a replacement. He didn't like the way the plain rods felt/looked, so he had one that looked more like a real leg. When he wore long pants, you couldn't tell he'd been wounded, except for a slight limp. He calls it his robot leg. We live in a tiny town with a tiny town store. There's this kid who's there a lot, and his favorite thing is to bite people while they're waiting in line. I think he must be related to the people who own the place, but he's a pain in the butt and they don't do anything about him. He's like 6, so way too old to be biting people. So, my uncle's in town and goes to the store to get candy because he always brings candy when he visits. He's in line, and Bitey McBiteface starts his usual thing of annoying people, and then biting them when they won't give him what he wants. My uncle's watching, and waiting for someone to stop him, but no one does. Uncle gets near the front of the line, and the kid comes up to him. I guess he wanted the candy, and Uncle told him no. Bitey doesn't like this, so he walks off, sneaks up behind my uncle and tries to bite that solid resin leg. Then he runs off screaming. Uncle laughs, people in line laugh, and the kid's probably on his way to the dentist. Edit. Wow. I woke up with so many awards on this, I can't keep up. Thank you all, so much. You have no idea how much this makes me smile. How I got a store manager fired for selling my property to a Karen mom. I'm 26, male, and am both autistic and have severe PTSD from some childhood trauma, caused by both of my parents that I really don't want to get into. I'm on a few different medications for depression and migraines and have to live in Section 8 housing that I just moved into a few months ago, after being on the waiting list for years. I don't like being touched or loud noises. And I certainly don't like seeing anyone take my stuff. When I moved to this city for the Section 8 housing, I'd been gifted a brand new Razor kick scooter by a friend to get around my new area with. And I love it. It's black and made a bit sturdier than typical ones for an adult to ride and has bigger wheels. It also isn't sold in the local stores, but they have similar looking ones in the bike department. And obviously I don't just leave it outside when I go into a store. I fold it up and put it in my cart while shopping. I look kinda twitchy, so most people leave me alone. And I'm just fine with that. But touch me without consent or take my stuff and be ready for a massive freakout. I went down the canned food aisle and started browsing the chunky soup. When I picked what I'd wanted and put the cans in the cart, I noticed my scooter was gone. And there was a woman with a kid fast walking away while carrying it. I shouted after them to return my scooter. But they ignored me, so I abandoned my cart to give chase. When I caught up to the lady and the kid, I tried to take my scooter back and the kid screamed so loud my eardrums felt like they were gonna pop. And the Karen mom shoved down while yelling something I didn't hear because my ears were ringing and my brain just stopped working for a moment. A manager noticed the commotion and came to see what the trouble was. I didn't even get a chance to speak when the Karen mom started calling me a creep and was demanding I be thrown out. I kept trying to explain what really happened, but the Karen just kept yelling over me. We were separated and I was made to sit in an office. The manager approached me and I asked him where my scooter was and he admonished me and said it was sold to the Karen, and I shouldn't have tried to take it from the kid when they were just trying to buy it from the store. Then he pointed out he had to give the Karen a discount just because of the situation. I understandably freaked out and told him that the Karen had taken my scooter that I came into the store with. And it wasn't sold there. The manager just looked confused and I nearly broke down. Then I pulled my phone out and showed him a picture a friend had taken of me with the scooter right after I'd gotten it. The next thing I knew, he was running out of the room. And when he finally came back, he said that the Karen was long gone. I pulled out my phone back out and started frantically calling the police. The manager actually tried to stop me by putting his hand over my phone and I freaked out from him touching me. He backed off because I'd nearly kicked him and was panicking and saying he'd buy me another scooter from the store. I told him that my scooter was expensive and didn't come from their store. And I wanted mine back. Well, it turned out I had managed to dial 911 because the police were already listening in on the line and the operator was trying to get my attention. I just told them to send someone over because my property had been stolen. I had to wait for another hour at least while police showed up and then went through the CCTV footage. It clearly showed me entering the store with the scooter, and showed the Karen and her crotch goblin taking it from my cart. And the mess that followed when I tried to get it back. I wanted my scooter back and police had to find the Karen from the camera footage of the parking lot. They found her address by running her plate number they got from the camera footage, and I got to ride in the back of a police car while we went to her apartment. The officer knocked on her door and I didn't hear the situation because I was still sitting in the back of the car with the windows closed. But the Karen mom looked really angry and eventually brought out the scooter after some back and forth. She practically had to wring it out of her kids' hands. I got let out of the car and they asked me if I wanted to press charges for assault because the mother had shoved me. She looked ghost white when I said I did want that. But the Karen started crying and begging me. She said that she honestly thought it was something the store was selling and it was her kid's birthday. I yelled that didn't excuse her stealing from someone else's cart, let alone from a legally disabled man. Her kid was also loudly crying and my ears were hurting again. So I said I wouldn't press charges on her if she didn't come near me or my stuff again. But I wanted something done about the manager at the store for letting this happen. And I was ready to ride my scooter all the way back there. But the police convinced me that it'd be better if I just went home and calmed down. I later learned on my next visit to the store a couple days later that manager was fired over what happened because he already had a few complaints against him and didn't bother to check that the scooter wasn't one of theirs. And the store gave the Karen and her kid a replacement Razor scooter that they had in stock because she'd already paid for one. But she was also banned for 6 months from the store for shoving me and stealing my property. I was also given a $50 gift card for some free groceries since I wasn't able to buy anything the day that mess happened. Now every time I go into that store, a few of the employees know me by name. And one actually told a random kid to leave me alone when he asked about my scooter. I certainly keep a better eye out now too. I've also since added a name tag on the underside of the scooter with my full name on it just in case this happens again. Jealous little sister tries to steal a baby name, it backfires and she saddles her baby with a random name. Not my story, but I was reminded of it in another post, thought I'd share the longer version. I posted it as a comment. Here is the full story, as relayed to me by Jane. This happened to a friend of mine, Jane. Her little sister, Tina, had a younger sibling, Chip, on her shoulder. Always trying to undermine Jane, outdo her in everything was a competition. You know the drill. Jane and her husband knew Tina would try to undermine her older sister whenever possible. They both got pregnant within the same year, younger Tina months ahead of Jane. Jane/husband already had a beautiful name idea picked out, to honor a teenaged cousin who'd passed years before, and, correctly, guessed Tina would try to steal it. Tina even asked if Jane ever had any names picked out, but strangely didn't have any ideas of her own. Jane suggested a few names, each met with the same answer, "Are you planning on using that one?" Tina finally asked point blank what name Jane was planning on using. Jane claimed not to have any idea, but her radar was up, and knew Tina enough to know what was happening. Jane and husband hatched a plan. The next time they got together, Jane told Tina they had decided on a name. They then dropped a decoy name, supposedly hubby's great-great-grandfather who'd been killed at Gettysburg. It's worth mentioning these people all live near Gettysburg, and visited it several times. Dad was a little bit of Civil War buff, to boot. Not reenactment nut, but liked to read about it. Sure enough, Tina took the name when she had the first boy, telling them it was too good not to use. Jane and husband kept pleasant about the whole thing, and when baby boy was born months after Tina's son, they gave him the name of Jane/Tina's cousin of theirs who died as a teenager, the first male-born child in the family. The family was touched, as the cousin who died was very beloved. Best of all, after Jane's baby was born/named, Tina tried to smugly apologize for stealing the name. Jane/husband just laughed and said that was another one of hubby's numerous dumb jokes. Hubby's family came here from Ireland in the 1920s and great-great-granddad never fought in the Civil War, lol. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments.